Yes, the regulations for the order and discipline of the troops of the United States, written for America by oppression in 1770. Hello, my fellow Americans. Welcome to Hero of the Month, where we talk about heroes throughout American history and either the World Wars. Today, we'll be covering Friedrich Wilhelm August Heinrich Ferdinand von Steuben. Now, just a little fun fact before I move on. Well, not that fun, but it's a tiny fact. You see the von in German names, such as Otto von Bismarck, or in this case, Friedrich Wilhelm von Steuben, actually means from. So, he was from Steuben and Bismarck is from Bismarck. Anyway, continuing on with Wilhelm. He was a Prussian born on September 17th, 1730. Steuben traveled with his father when his father enlisted in military service under Empress Anna, traveling to Russian territories until 1739. In 1740, he and his father returned to Prussia, where Friedrich received an education. Steuben began military service at age 17, fighting in the 7 Years' War. By 1759, Steuben would have been promoted to first lieutenant, after being wounded once in 57 and again in August of the same year. Steuben was taken prisoner by the Russians in 1761. After being freed, he became captain. When the war ended, Steuben did not have any employment, and thus became the... Now this is an interesting word. Hofmarschall. Yeah, Hofmarschall to Fürst Joseph Friedrich Wilhelm of... I don't like these words. Of, let's see, Hohenzollern, Hecken, foreign. That's just a German areas. Most of what Steuben did was an attempt to gain money. He went to France along with the Prince Fürst to find money but return in debt. In 1777, Steuben was introduced to Benjamin Franklin, hoping to receive rank and pay. However, due to the fact that the Continental Congress was tired of foreign mercenaries coming to America, most of which happened to be Prussian, Steuben had to volunteer instead. Steuben knew little English, and Franklin was still studying German, so therefore Steuben became a lieutenant general, despite the fact that Steuben was indeed not a lieutenant general. However, this mistake would cost the British dearly. At Valley Forge, after terrible defeats at the hands of the British, the untrained Continental Army was demoralized. Von Steuben put a stop to this. He whipped the Continental Army into a fierce fighting force. The tactics that he used are still employed by the U.S. military, albeit to a lesser extreme. Steuben didn't know much English. However, the tone of his voice was enough to get the army's act together. They didn't know what swear words were coming out of his mouth, sometimes literally, as he'd even make some up when he ran out. But they knew when he was mad. The Continental Army that came out of Valley Forge was one that the Redcoats had little prepared for. Gone were the days of an untrained army retreating with their tails tucked between their legs. No longer were there crushing and humiliating defeats. Now there were minor defeats, stalemates, and even victories. It can indeed be said that Steuben had one of the largest impacts on the Revolution. George Washington was too nice of a man to allow such untrained, demoralized, and cowardice troops to reign. Steuben was able to do what Washington knew he was unable to do, and for that, we are thankful that we don't have to fly a Union Jack.